Hello and welcome to a new vlog and video of the cruise vibes, and today we are traveling with the excellent Baroness that I showed to you in the last video. We are supposed to go from Basel to Gamsheim and back to camps, but due to high water and problems with the locks we had to change the schedule, as you can see here on the sea map. We are starting as planned in Basel. I parked my car in Weil am Rhein on the German side, and then I took the tram to Basel because parking in Basel is quite expensive. It's much cheaper to park in Germany. And then you can easily take the tram to the main station of Basel, and there I was picked up by the coach of Excellence. With Excellence Cruises, the transportation to and from the ship by coach included. In this case, we were just brought to the docking location in Basel, so I could have also taken a bus just to go directly to the ship, but as it was included, I also used the opportunity to take the coach to the ship. Here we are arriving at the port, which is located a bit outside of the city center. And here we can see my ship, the Excellence Baroness. As I said, I showed this ship to you in the last video, so if you haven't seen that, make sure to watch it so you know how the ship is looking from the inside. The weather was pretty bad, it was pouring, but the cruise director and the crew were waiting for us with umbrellas, so we got on board dry. And then we were sent into the lounge where we waited until the cabins were ready. Here you can see my cabin. If you remember my video from the lady Christina, you will see that the cabin looks quite similar, but just without the French balcony, as I'm on the lowest deck. And at this cruise, the cabin itself is very spacious and nice. Also, the bathroom is quite nice. It's rather small, but with a very intelligent layout, so you still have a proper shower and a lot of space, even though the bathroom itself is rather small. There's a desk area with a TV, and you also have a lot of power sockets. Just make sure to look under the nightstand. And also the TV was quite nice with a personal greeting. And as you can see, there's a lot of water in the Rhine as we were departing, heading for our destination Gamsheim. And that was one of two problems why we had to change the itinerary later on. A lot of water and problems with the lock that caused quite a delay. We had to wait quite a time in front of the lock, and therefore they changed the itinerary, so we were heading now for Breisach instead for Gamsheim. From Gamsheim we were supposed to go to Baden-Baden. That was quite far from Breisach, so they changed the destination to Colmar. But more about this later on. Here you can see that there were quite a few waves on the Rhine, which is not normal, which clearly shows that there is a lot of water on the Rhine right now. And that also meant that a few of the waves were hitting my window, which I think is pretty funny, and I really enjoyed that. I spent quite some time watching the waves hitting my window, but for some people this might be a bit frightening, or they are maybe annoyed by the sound. So if you have a problem with something like this, make sure to book a cabin on the upper decks. Then I headed into the panoramic lounge for a drink, and then it was time for the first dinner on board, which was pretty nice. As you can see here, as always, the food at the cruise with Excellence is amazing. Also here on the Baroness, the food quality was pretty high, and I really enjoyed the food quality on board. After dessert, I saw that there was a pretty nice sunset, so I decided to head out, take a few pictures and videos of this stunning sunset, even though I was one of the first guests to leave the restaurant, because guests from Switzerland tend to stay a bit longer in the restaurant instead of going to the lounge immediately like German guests are doing, for example. But yeah, I still decided to leave and head up for the sun deck to enjoy this wonderful sunset, which was pretty spectacular with very nice colors. Also saw some other ships, so it was a pretty nice evening. And then I spent some more time in the panoramic lounge, and then I already headed for my cabin. And on the next day we arrived in the morning in Breisach. Here we just get a new neighbor, Antonio Bellucci. And as I said, most guests were heading for Colmar now, the replacement excursion, but I decided to stay on board because I know both the cities of Breisach and Colmar, have been there multiple times, but I haven't seen the ship yet, so I decided to spend some more time on the ship. Then it was a time for lunch, which was also pretty nice, the good quality. And after lunch we set sail, but without a destination, so we just made a short panoramic cruise, went through one lock and then headed to the next lock, and in front of that we turned and went back to Breisach, as there was not enough time to head back to Basel in time. Also that would be dangerous for the next cruise, because then also the next cruise would have big delays, so they decided to stay in Breisach. But as of course we are on a cruise, the ship was also supposed to sail, and that's why we did this panoramic tour, which I watched from the sun deck and from the panoramic lounge with a nice drink again. Here we are in the lock, already up, heading now back upstream to the next lock, and then we are turning and heading back to Breisach. I then went into the gym. Small gym is available on the Baroness, as you saw in the last video, and from there I watched the maneuver as we were reaching the second lock, and in front of it we were turning, heading back to Breisach. Changes of an itinerary like this can always happen on river cruises with low water, high water, problems with locks, so you should always be aware of that. If you book a river cruise, it can always have changes. That is quite normal. And then it was time for the farewell cocktail with some nice canapes and a glass of sparkling wine whilst we were heading back down in the lounge, and then it was time for the gala dinner. As you can see, the food looks amazing again, with a lovely presentation. Also the quality and the taste were very good, so as always I really enjoyed that. As you can see, there are also a lot of courses, so gala dinner on ships of excellence is always something special. This was my main course. I decided to go for fish, which was very good, and for dessert there's a variation of different desserts on one plate. It's very typical for excellence, replaces the baked Alaska, which in my opinion is anyways always too sweet, so I prefer the version of excellence. And then we were heading back to Breisach, arriving there in the evening. I stepped out for a few minutes just to take a few pictures, and then I went back into the panoramic lounge for the last evening on board, which was of course also very nice, with another nice drink. And then it was time to go to sleep, and the next morning of course there was another amazing breakfast, and after that it was time to say goodbye to my cabin and also to this wonderful ship, because the coaches were waiting for us to bring us back to Basel. Well, exactly not to Basel, but to Weil am Rhein, because a visit to the Vitra Design Museum was also included in the price of the cruise. But I've seen this museum already, so I decided to leave the group there at the parking lot. Of course, I informed the cruise director and the bus driver before, so I could get my luggage. And then I just walked to my car, which was parked nearby, whilst the other guests were enjoying the design museum. So, of course, it was not the cruise that I booked, because there were a few changes in the itinerary, but it was still a very nice and pleasant time on board, and I really enjoyed it. So it was a very nice experience. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Here you can see when the next video will be uploaded and the name of the song. As always, I'd like to say thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.